Good afternoon, Robert Scribbler. It is September 19th, 2018. Thank you for joining me for another climate change and clean energy video blog. Now, for this segment, I am going to talk about the rise of renewable energy, particularly focusing on wind and solar, and about renewable energy's potential for plateauing and reducing net global carbon emissions early. It's something that is presently uncertain, but the economic strength of renewable energy does provide the opportunity of peaking global carbon emissions in a near-term time frame if individuals, if nations, if states, and if national governments, and if the global community itself leans into renewable energy and adopts it rapidly. I'm going to focus on the economic strength of renewable energy and the past history of an explosive growth for clean energy, which provides us with this hope for global response. So looking at trends for clean energy based on Bloomberg New Energy Finance reports, we find that since the year 2000, the pace of renewable energy additions in the form of wind and solar capacity additions has grown on an exponential basis, on an upwardly sloping scale. And as of the first half of 2018, wind and solar capacity has exceeded 1 trillion watts of capacity as of June 30th, totaling 1,013 gigawatts. Now, this large-scale increase in wind and solar energy capacity has been enabled by rapidly falling costs for wind and solar, in particular for solar energy, which last year added approximately 100 gigawatts of new capacity, even as wind power added about 52 gigawatts. So a major trend for rapid addition of clean energy, which has outpaced forecasts. If you're looking at the Bloomberg New Energy Finance forecasts in 2017 by about 80 gigawatts. And for 2018, possibly outpacing by as much as 100 or 110 gigawatts. Now, overall, looking at the present trends for 2018, it appears that between 125 and 170 gigawatts of new wind and solar capacity will be added this year. If capacity additions exceed 150 gigawatts, we will be in the range of a new record or possibly matching the massive add that occurred in 2018, despite headwinds against clean energy produced by bad energy actors such as the Trump administration in the US, for example. That said, the economic incentive to add new wind and solar is being driven by positive learning curves in the form of systemically reducing prices for clean energy year after year, decade after decade. And we can see this in this graphic of wind turbine cost in the United States falling from about $1,600,000 per megawatt of wind turbine additions in 2008 and 2009 to around $1 million per megawatt of new wind turbine installations today. So rapid cost falls for wind, but solar energy cost falls have been even more swift, with present solar module costs in the range of 24 cents per watt, which was unheard of even 5 years ago, at a time when manufacturers were aiming to reduce costs below $1 per watt. So the cost of wind and solar puts it on a very competitive basis with fossil fuels, in many cases and in more cases making it the least expensive source of energy. And this is the primary enabler for the explosion of new wind and solar capacity that we've seen around the world, despite resistance from political leaders associated with the fossil fuel industry who have been doing everything they can to try and tamp down clean energy additions and support harmful energy sources like coal. It's worth noting that Trump's attempts to support coal have so far failed. We have had 0 goose egg new coal capacity additions in the US since Trump was elected. It's been 2 years now, and that's good news from a clean energy and global carbon emissions reduction perspective. The last time new coal capacity was added in the US was in 2014, which represented 1% of new capacity. It is worth noting that Trump's tariff-based, we could call them attacks on clean energy, have resulted in losses in new solar energy capacity additions for the first half of 2018. But looking down the pipeline, looking at new projects, it appears that there will be a surge in new solar energy additions in the second half of 2018, with total capacity add for 2018 in the range of about 10 gigawatts, which, though not a record year, is certainly a healthy add and is likely to cut down on the comparative relative capacity adds for natural gas, which have been growing in recent years as attacks on clean energy from the Trump administration, and particular from Republicans, have increased. Now, these lower prices in the long term, though, do provide the opportunity to begin to cramp down these new natural gas additions, particularly as the cost of energy storage in the form of batteries falls and as battery production capacity grows. And to this point, I'd like to just step back and take a look at the overall picture when it comes to clean energy's ability to plateau and then begin to reduce net global carbon emissions. And the question is, when can that happen? So the answer to that question is at about 150 gigawatts of new capacity for wind and solar, and possibly an approximate 200 gigawatts if you're adding in all other forms of clean energy such as hydro and geothermal and other forms. Then there's an opportunity to plateau and reduce carbon emissions from the power generation sector, particularly if you're not adding new coal at a high rate on the global perspective. And in fact, if coal burning is challenged, as it is now, so long as efficiency also increases. So you do have that opportunity. But the other piece of this picture is that as electric vehicles begin to reach higher and higher production rates, you also see pressure for reduced emissions and reduced fossil fuel burning coming from these new clean energy vehicles as well, particularly when they become mated to new wind and solar capacity adds. In addition, the large production facilities for batteries and the growing production of batteries also provides an opportunity to start to remove natural gas production, new natural gas production from the energy system. So a major economic opportunity for clean energy. There are a number of political barriers, but I would say that those who are saying that the rise of renewable energy worldwide is now a reality are right. It's just now that we as individuals have a choice and nations have a choice to add new clean energy due to the economic strength of clean energy. And we need to make that choice, and we need to make that choice as rapidly as possible, because human-caused climate change is rough, and we don't want to get into the worst-case scenarios. Thank you.